What is up, my tough trainers? I'm Lance, and today I'll be counting down my top 10 favorite normal type Pokemon. In the last top 10 video that I did, I counted down my top 10 favorite dragon type Pokemon, and in that video I said you guys could vote for whether you'd like to see me count down my top 10 favorite ghost type Pokemon or my top 10 favorite normal type Pokemon, and normal got about 75% of the votes, so that is what I'll be doing today. In the next top 10 video that I do, I'll either be counting down my top 10 favorite ghost type Pokemon or my top 10 favorite rock type Pokemon, depending on what you guys vote for. So to vote, just let me know what you would rather see in the comment section below. Right now, I'm using a new homemade pop filter, using a wire coat hanger and one of my mum's old stockings. My parents helped me with it a bit, and it seems to be working pretty well, so that is good. There's a picture of it on my Twitter, so if you want to check it out, just go to the link in the description of this video. In a few videos ago, I said that I did buy a pop filter online, but the site that I bought it from never actually sent it to me, and I found out that the site that I bought it from is actually a scam. I found hundreds of people say that they've also bought stuff from the site and they've never received the stuff they've paid for either, so I'm going to stay away from the site from now on. It's called tmart.com. The site's been up for around 5 years, so I thought it would all be legit and stuff like that, but don't buy from it. It is a scam. I've learnt my lesson, so this will have to make do for the moment. But now that I've got a new pop filter, I'll be starting off my new Let's Play very soon, so I'll probably record the first episode of that once I finish with this top 10 video. But anyway, let's go ahead and get into this top 10 video. As usual, it's going to be 100% opinion based, and if you don't agree with any of the Pokemon on this list, you can let me know some of your favorite normal type Pokemon in the comment section below. Kicking off this list today at number 10, we've got a Pokemon that can be very, very annoying. I've used it a little bit in competitive battling, and it is SMEARGLE. SMEARGLE can learn any attack, which is one of the reasons it gets used in competitive battling, because if you just look at its stats, you wouldn't think it would be used too much because all of its stats are garbage. This Pokemon works very well holding a Focus Sash because of its defenses being so low, and it also works very well with Spore and Dark Void because they are two of the best Pokemon attacks in my opinion. And obviously SMEARGLE can learn any attack. I also think SMEARGLE works well with some entry hazards such as Stealth Rock, Sticky Web, Spikes, Toxic Spikes, and I've also seen it be used with King Shield before, so that's certainly interesting. I'll have to give that a go one day. And I've also heard it can work well with Destiny Bond. Pretty much you can give this Pokemon any attacks that you want it to have, so it can be pretty cool to use. It can be cool to test new things with it. And that's just why SMEARGLE is at number 10 today. To be honest, I don't really like its design, but just the fact that it can learn any move I think is pretty cool. At number 9, we have got a Pokemon that I think has a really cool design. I've used it a little bit in Pokemon Black, and it is STOUTLAND. I think Lillipup is a very cute Pokemon, which is one of the reasons I wanted to pick up a Lillipup and evolve it into a STOUTLAND. One of the times I played through Pokemon Black, this Pokemon gets the ability Scrappy, which lets it hit Ghost type Pokemon with normal and fighting type attacks, so that can be pretty cool to have. And it can also have the ability Intimidate. I've heard it works pretty well in competitive battling with moves such as Return, Crunch, Superpower, Thunder Wave, and Toxic, so I'll have to give it a go one day in competitive battling, because this Pokemon does have a good attack stat with pretty good defense and special defense as well. Let's go ahead and move on to number 8. At number 8, we've got another Pokemon that I think has a really cool design. In fact, this Pokemon is only really here on this list because of its design, and it is Pyroar from Generation 6. Pyroar can look different depending on its gender. In my opinion, the male Pyroar looks a lot better than the female Pyroar, but the male form is a lot rarer. I tried to look for the male form in Pokemon X, but I never found it, so I just gave up. Pyroar can have the ability Moxie, Rivalry, or Intimidate. I think it's really weird that it gets the ability Moxie because its base attack is only 68, and its special attack is base 109, so it really doesn't make sense that it got Moxie. I've seen some people try to use this Pokemon with Moxie and physical attacks, but I've seen most people use it with special attacks. This Pokemon has good speed and special attack, but none of its other stats are that good. It can be good with Fire Blast, Hyper Voice, Will-O-Wisp, and Flamethrower, and I once saw someone use it with Return, Flame Charge, Work Up, and some other move, so I guess I'll have to try Pyroar one day in competitive battling. I'd recommend you use it with special attacks because it doesn't really work well with physical attacks just because of its very low attack stat. But anyway, that is why Pyroar is at number 8. At number 7 today, unlike Pyroar, we have got a Pokemon I've used in Pokemon X and in competitive battling, and it is Diggersby. I really like Diggersby's design. I think it looks really cool. I love how it's just a huge looking bunny. I reckon Bunnelby is a very cute Pokemon. That is one of the reasons I wanted to use Diggersby in Pokemon X. This Pokemon gets the ability Huge Power, which doubles its attack stat. Its base attack stat is 56, so with the Huge Power ability, it actually makes it pretty decent. and all of its other stats are pretty average. I like to use this Pokemon in competitive battling with Quick Attack, Return, Swords Dance, and Earthquake, but I've heard it can also work well with U-Turn and Agility, so that is why Diggersby is at number 7 today, just because of some of the great things it can do in competitive battling. At number 6 today, we have got a Pokemon that was number 7 on my top 10 favourite flying type Pokemon. It is BRAVIARY. I think BRAVIARY has a really cool design. I don't really know what it is about this Pokemon's design that I like. I just think it looks really cool. It has a great attack stat, and it can have the ability Sheer Force or Defiant, which are both pretty good abilities. I've heard it can work well in competitive battling with Bulk Up, Brave Bird, Roost, Return, Superpower, U-Turn, and Substitute. I've never used it in-game or in competitive battling, so I'll have to use it in both one day. But anyway, that is why BRAVIARY is at number 6. At number 5, we've got another Pokemon that is part flying. This Pokemon was number 5 on my top 10 favourite flying type Pokemon, and it is STARAPTOR. I've used Staraptor in Pokemon Diamond, Pearl, and Platinum a lot. I really like this Pokemon just because it looks really cool and because some of its stats are pretty good. It can have the ability Intimidate or Reckless. Reckless is probably slightly better for competitive battling. This Pokemon has a base attack of 120, which is very good with a good speed stat as well. And this Pokemon can work very well with Brave Bird, Double Edge, Close Combat, U-Turn, Roost, and Quick Attack. So let's move on now to number 4. At number 4, we have got a very bulky Pokemon that was actually in my team the very first time I beat the champion in a Pokemon game in Pokemon Diamond, and it is BLISSEY. I've just used BLISSEY in-game once, and that was in Pokemon Diamond once, and I've used it a lot in competitive battling since then. This Pokemon has a base HP stat of 255, that is huge. It also has a base special defense stat of 135, but luckily its base defense is only 10. So it does have a bit of a weakness there, and its base attack is only 10 as well. It does have decent special attack though, and it works very well with moves such as Soft Boiled, Aromatherapy, Protect, Wish, Toxic, Thunder Wave, and Seismic Toss, and it gets the ability Natural Cure, which means it loses its status effect when it is switched out of battle. So if you haven't used BLISSEY before in competitive battling, you should give it a go, because it is a very good Pokemon. And in my opinion, it looks alright. I like the egg that's kind of sticking out of its pouch. At number 3, we've got another Pokemon that is now very good in competitive battling thanks to a Mega Evolution it got recently, and it is Kangaskhan. I've used Kangaskhan a lot in competitive battling just because of its new Mega Evolution, but I've never actually used it in game. It is based off a kangaroo, which I think is very cool, and speaking of kangaroo, I just had kangaroo for dinner half an hour ago, so that is a fun fact for you guys. This Pokemon has a really cool looking Mega Evolution with the ability Parental Bond, which is its own signature ability, I guess you could say, and with the ability it has, the little kangaroo in Kangaskhan's pouch can actually come out and fight alongside Kangaskhan, and so every time Kangaskhan uses an attack, the little baby Kangaskhan in its pouch will actually attack the foe as well, so you'll do, I think, 1.5 times more damage than usual, so it's obviously a very good ability. Mega Kangaskhan has a great base attack stat with good speed, defense, and special defense as well, and this guy is a monster with Fake Out, Sucker Punch, Power Up Punch, and Return, and I've also heard he can work well with Body Slam and Earthquake as well. There is a reason Mega Kangaskhan is in Ubers because of how good it is, but if you're ever battling in Ubers, make sure you give this guy a go one day. At number 2 today, we have got a Pokemon I've used in Pokemon Heart Gold and in competitive battling. It is the god of all Pokemon, and it is Arceus. All of Arceus's base stats are 120, which means all of its stats are really good. It gets the ability Multi-Type, which means that its type changes depending on what type of plate you've made it hold. This Pokemon has a really cool looking design in my opinion. I think it really fits it being like the god of all Pokemon. This Pokemon obviously works well with different moves depending on what type you make it, but I think all forms of Arceus work well with moves such as Swords Dance, Recover, Roar, Perish, Song, Will-O-Wisp, Trick, and Reflect. But obviously you probably want some attacking attacks on your Arceus, but you probably want some attacks that you can get stabbed with. Out of all of the Pokemon on this list, the Pokemon at number 1 today is definitely the Pokemon I've used the most in competitive battling. I've never used it in game, but this guy is amazing in UU. It is Porygon 2. The reason so many people like to use Porygon 2 instead of Porygon Z is because this guy is amazing with the Eviolite. You can have the ability either Trace, Download, or Analytic, which are all pretty good abilities. In my opinion, Analytic is probably the best. This Pokemon has a great special attack stat with pretty good special defense and defense as well, and I really like to use it with Try Attack, Recover, Toxic, and Ice Beam, but instead of Ice Beam, if you want, you could probably give it Thunderbolt. That would probably work just as well, and I really like Porygon 2's design. I don't really know what it is about this Pokemon. It looks kind of plain, kind of simple, but its design works very well for it. I just really like its design. So that is why Porygon 2 is at the top of this list today. So as usual, if you guys enjoyed this video, make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. I'll see you in my next video. Thanks for watching, and don't forget to vote for whether you'd like to see me count down my top 10 favorite ghost type Pokemon or my top 10 favorite rock type Pokemon in the comment section below, and as usual, stay tough.